Why don't Americans give this economy a better grade? You've seen the polling, you know, it's like only 1 in 3 approve of the president's handling of the economy. Why do you think it's so gloomy?
Well, I think there are a few things. Uh, we're starting to see some improvement in the sentiment indexes. You know, the UMich index really popped up in its last report. 1 month. I don't want to over torque on 1 month. I understand what you're asking about, Heather, and it's something I've looked at pretty closely. I think Americans have been through a whole lot over the past couple of years. I mean, a 100-year pandemic, the horrible illegal invasion of the sovereign nation of Ukraine, the supply chain snarl-ups we've talked about. Of course, inflation at a year ago at a 40-year high. Two-thirds of that has come off, which obviously is very positive. But having gone through all of that, I think people have been definitely somewhat shaken up by what they've been through. And I think what the president did when he got here was to say we have to get back to normal as quickly as possible. It may take a while for that uh, uh, kind of renormalization to work into people's consciousness, but we're starting to see some of it now. I happen to think that a key part of that ingredient is real wage gains. That is, wages rising faster than inflation, and we're now seeing that. But that's a relatively new trend. It's the last few months we've seen wages start to beat inflation, and as that's occurred, we've started to see some improvements in these indexes. So that's answer one. People have been through a lot. It takes a while for things to normalize, and I think as they continue to do so, people will hopefully feel better. But here's another thing. Part of the problem is what folks are asking people about. If you want to understand how people feel about Bidenomics, you should probably ask them about the granular components therein. And if you do so, you get quite different answers. And in fact, something like the Inflation Reduction Act, the Infrastructure Law, the CHIPS Act, they poll way north of 50%. I think some of them poll north of 70%. It kind of comes down to this. I mean, if you go to Flint, Michigan, and you ask people, what do you think about replacing lead pipes with pipes that don't poison your kids? You're going to get a very high approval rating, and that at a granular level is what we're doing now. When you ask people about the broad macro economy, sometimes they divorce that from their own financial situation, which has actually improved in some ways in recent months, especially as inflation has come down. So I think I think there are a lot of moving parts there, but I think one answer is to really drill down and ask people about the more granular impacts of what we're trying to do.